Welcome to our podcast, Between the Fence Posts, where we discuss all things related to agriculture and how they impact our local communities here in East Tennessee. Whether you're a farmer, gardener, or just looking for some updates about the ag world, we're glad you're here with us. Give us a like and subscribe to receive updates for our latest content. Thanks again for being here. Now, let's get into our next episode. All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to Between the Fence Posts. I'm your host, Ryan Brown, and today we have a very special guest, Miss Kinsley Waggoner. She is our local district conservationist for the Natural Resources Conservation Service here in Dandridge, Tennessee. Kinsley, how are you?
Hey, Ryan. I'm really well. How are you today?
I'm good. Glad to have you. So for those out there who may not know you or may not be familiar with your office, can you kind of give your a personal background about yourself, education, where you're from, who you are, and kind of give us an overview of what NRCS does, not on the broad scale, but locally more specifically here. I think, a lot of people can look up a website or whatever it might be to find, just what NRCS is. But locally, what do you guys do, boots on the ground here, that's so important to our county?
Yeah, okay. So first, I'm really excited to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. A little bit about myself. I would like to lead with I am pregnant, expecting my first child.
Congratulations are in order, absolutely.
Due in September, so I am in full-blown pregnancy brain mode. Sentences aren't coming that easy, so
I understand
I will do
that.
My best. So born and raised in Hawkins County, grew up on a small farm there. My dad did beef cattle and hay production, helped with that. I raised meat goats on my own.
I did not know you were, okay.
I did boars and Kikos no longer. I sold them out in college because they required a lot of
upkeep,
yeah. I converted to cattle. I had llamas for predator control. That was really fun.
Okay.
I've dabbled in quite a bit, did beekeeping for very short span. Really was just learning under someone else, but I claim it as I was helping.
Gotcha.
Of course, gardening. My husband and I, we purchased our farm in Hawkins County September of last year. We've got, just getting started, we got 11 beef cattle. We're doing some hay out there. So excited about that. I've spent all these years working in the agency, helping other people work on their farms, establish their infrastructure, making recommendations, and now I get to do it on my own. So it's really exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So my education, I graduated from Cherokee High School, Hawkins County, 2013. Of course, participated in FFA and 4-H all through school. For college, I went to Walter State locally, got my associates in ag science, went to UT-Martin.
Okay.
I did that online because I was actually working full-time with NRCS.
Gotcha.
So I have my bachelor's in ag business with a focus on farm and ranch management. I completed that in 2018. So my working experience, this is actually my first job outside of high school.
Gotcha.
So I worked at Food City through high school, and then I started October of 2013, so right after I graduated high school.
Yeah.
Started as a little baby intern.
You worked your way all the way up.
I have been in almost every position from the bottom to where I am now. So this is year 12. October will be my 13th year. I've been in 6 different offices, and I've had several different positions. So I've worked in Rogersville, Cleveland, Lewisburg, Greenville, most recently Jonesboro, and now Dandridge. So
holy smoke, you've covered 2 time zones.
I did. Now, those were part of my internships when I was in Cleveland and Lewisburg. So
sure, but still.
It was for a summer. But, yeah, I got to experience different parts of the state. That's part of the program, is so you can see different production areas.
How long of an internship is that?
Those are over the summer. So I was in Cleveland and Lewisburg about 12 weeks.
Okay.
Between semesters.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. Yeah, so you really have started from the bottom and worked your way up here.
So the first position that I held was an AmeriCorps service member, which is like a third-party nonprofit that can help you have positions. And then I was one of NRCS's interns. It's through the Pathways program. So I did that for a few summers. I worked for the district, and I'll get into that in a moment. There's actually 2 separate entities that we'll be talking about today. So I was a district technician. I was a soil technician on the federal side,
Okay.
soil conservationist on the federal side, and most recently the district conservationist. So
Gotcha.
I really feel like my time in all those different positions has allowed me to appreciate those roles and what they contribute to the team and
Absolutely.
all of that. So I've been here in Dandridge for a little over a year, and we have a really good team going now, and I'll just briefly mention them. We've got Mackenzie Belt. She's our soil conservationist. Kaylee Hoffner is our district office administrator. And then Nick Klein is our district conservationist. Kaylee and Nick are both locals to Jefferson County. And while Mackenzie and I are across county lines, we still do treat Jefferson County as if it were our home.
Right.
We're very proud to be here and very dedicated in the work we do. We're here to service ag producers of Jefferson County. And then we also have our Jefferson County Soil and Water Conservation District Board of Directors. That's comprised of Jim Satterfield, Brian Morgan, John Dillard, Terry Sellers, and Craig Briggs, all local ag producers in the county.
Yeah.
So that's Mackenzie and I work for NRCS, which is the federal side, and then we partner with the district consisting of the board members and then Nick and Kaylee.
Which is the local county side of things, right?
Yes, yeah. And so
Gotcha.
we all work together for the common goal. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a little bit like extension to a degree because we have, different program areas within our office, but, our funding is, part county, part state, and then, federal dollars are funneled down through the system, through the state. So it's very similar to kind of how we function as well.
yeah.
So,
When you start getting in the nitty gritty of things, the waters can get muddied really, really quick.
Oh, very fast. We always get questions. Now, what do you guys do exactly? And I'm sure y'all get those as well.
Oh, yeah. And then when you start talking about different funding sources or who pays who, it's, yeah.
If I had a nickel for every time somebody walked in the door and said, "Hey, I want to get on that grant program where you get waters and cross fencing," I'm like,
Wrong
you
office.
are at the wrong office, my friend, but I can tell you who to go to. And if y'all had a nickel or a dime for every time somebody walked in about ag enhancement in your office.
Oh, it's not just ag enhancement. When
It's
somebody
just-
wants a
yeah.
recommendation on a specific chemical or
yep.
what should I do with my farm? I don't know what I should do. I'm like, there's this really great guy just down the road. 1111 Lake Drive.
That's
Go
right.
see him.
That's right. That's right. Well, and it's really funny we mentioned that because we do serve the exact same clientele. Like we're all, I'm focused in Jefferson County for the ag and natural resource side of things, and then y'all are just Jefferson County as well. So I think it's really cool because not all federal there's not a federal representation in every single office, right? Or every single county, I should say.
Right. Some offices service at least
Multiple
two
counties, yeah.
But we are strictly just Jefferson County, so
Yeah.
we get to specialize just in Jefferson County.
That makes life so much easier in some ways and so much more difficult in some ways,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But so yeah, well, good. Well, I can say firmly we're very glad to have you, and you do have a good team. I know we've had there's just been a lot going on locally in the county, but I do want to go ahead and start off. Explain exactly what NRCS does, the nitty-gritty type of work for local producers, landowners, and folks like that. So what's kind of the ultimate mission? What's y'all's mission?
Yeah, so I think the first part of that to understand, and it's sort of our slogan, not necessarily our mission statement, but we're here to help people help the land. We're assisting you on your privately owned property. So it's environmental benefit through addressing resource concerns is the whole basis of what we're trying to do here. Some characteristics that I try to explain to people, they're little one-liners, but it sort of helps understand. We are reactive, not proactive. So
Gotcha.
nothing that we do is necessarily putting you in production. It's just managing or enhancing what
What's
you
already
currently
there.
have.
Yeah.
Also, and that kicks into we improve existing operations through environmental benefit. It's voluntary programs. So I'm not out here going door to door trying to sell conservation.
I'm from the government. You have to do this. Yeah.
I'm here to help. You can trust me. No. So our voluntary programs, we have technical, so I can come out and just make recommendations on your property, a lot like probably what you do. But we also have financial assistance programs available. Those are funded through the Farm Bill.
Gotcha.
On the federal side, now when I was talking about waters can get muddied, we also have state funding.
Okay.
That our local board of directors, they manage that and sort of pick the projects that are funded through that. We just never know year to year how much allocation we're going to get.
Right.
So funding is very competitive, and it's a cost share program, not a grant program.
Gotcha.
That is a common misconception. So you are expected to have a little skin in the game when you're participating in our programs. Those resource concerns that I mentioned earlier, we have an acronym. Imagine that with
surely
with
not a government agency having acronyms.
So it's the SWAPA acronym. So what we're focusing on there is soil, water, air, plants, animals, and energy.
Gotcha.
So any practice or spending of money that we do, we're able to justify that if we're addressing or enhancing soil, water, air, plants, animals, energy.
Gotcha.
Swap.
Yeah.
So we shorten it.
It's not, this is really ironic with everything going on at the federal level, but it's not just government spending, right? There has got to be a legitimate concern going on. And so I want to make that clear to those listening out there. Your dollars are going to good use in this type of a program, because it's natural resource concerns that are not just numbers or something made up on a page. It's real, tangible stuff, because I'll speak for myself. I've seen it on farms here in Jefferson County. I've seen it on farms in my hometown in Middle Tennessee. So it's real, tangible stuff that people can implement, potentially get some financial assistance with, that's going to help them in the long run. So I think it's really important to make sure we tell those out there that that's where we're coming from here.
Right. And it also ties back to, like, unfortunately, I can't just go out to a farm and I want a water tank right here because I want one.
Right.
So that's not necessarily what our service is. It is, like I said, more conservation than production.
Right.
So we have to have an environmental benefit that we're tying it to.
Yeah.
So that's just for example.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, we are the avenue to help you figure out how to address the environmental impact on your farm by doing that. But yeah, I do like to say environmental benefit, conservation, not production.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a paradigm shift in your mind. Same with the reactive, not proactive.
Sure.
We're problem solvers, not necessarily preventers.
Right. Well, and that's kind of where I come into play, and your local extension folks can come into play, is like, we focus a lot more on the production side, I guess, and a lot of what we do and recommend is based on the economic, right?
Right.
And ultimately that's part of the equation we all have to help producers kind of solve is, okay, we can do X, Y, and Z, but is this really going to help you be more profitable, stay in business, things like that? And so, again, that's a lot on the producers and the landowners themselves to try to figure all that out. But
See, I feel like on our side, economics often gets overshadowed by, what's the water quality going to be when I'm done? And what's your plant productivity going to be when I'm done? Not necessarily, not that it's not a huge player in an operation.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we have our rose-colored glasses on and we're just looking at that environmental impact.
Well, I could echo that and agree with you. On the other side of the coin is that a lot of times, your economic impact or your economic basis sometimes overshadows everything else. And it can't just be the short term, it's got to be long term, because ultimately long-term profitability for a business is the ultimate goal, because it's more or less how long can you make this go. That's kind of the mentality from the business side of agriculture and farming. But again, I think you mentioned plant productivity. One of the most common things that we preach, I know y'all do and encourage and actually have some projects going on, is like trying to get rotational grazing implemented.
Yeah.
And that's a can of worms we could open up, and I don't really want to. But you have people who are on they're in every corner of the octagon, it seems like, whenever you talk about something like rotational grazing.
It's not a one-size-fits-all.
No, and that's the more I talk to people about it, and they're like, I don't want to break my farm, for beef cattle producers just in general. They're like,
I don't want to open up a bunch of gates to get to the
I
other
don't
side
want to
of my
have to
farm.
do, it's like there's a lot of labor involved, and I'm like, you really don't need, like, just because your neighbor has 12 or 13 paddocks don't mean you have to.
Yeah.
Because your neighbor's land is not the same as yours.
Yeah. You can be a grazer that moves your livestock twice a day, or you can be a grazer that moves your livestock once a month. And that's where we come into play, is different agencies helping figure out what works for your site specific.
Yes,
operation.
it all goes back to what your goals are and really trying to figure all that out. But, I mean, it's kind of funny when I start talking to people about it, the benefits of they're a little hesitant about the infrastructure, right? I don't want to necessarily put up permanent stuff. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You can do a lot of temporary. It's more labor involved that way,
Right.
long term, but you can do that. And then 9 times out of 10, when somebody starts doing the temporary stuff, about 2 or 3 years down the road, they'll start putting permanent stuff up because you kind of figure it out. And every farm is different. Every piece of ground is different. But those environmental impacts actually lead to more productivity in the long run in most cases. And so, like with the rotational grazing deal, that's like, people are a little shy to get on the bandwagon sometimes. But even if, the power of one wire, I think, is what somebody has mentioned in the past. I can't remember who that quote goes to, but, you can really, really do a lot of production good after the fact whenever you're talking about implementing something like that for an environmental benefit. And 99% of the time when they start doing it, they see it, and it's a real visual, tangible thing, whether it's weed control, whether it's, grass productivity, whatever it might be, the amount of the stocking rate they can go, on that same piece of ground. So it's real tangible results people can actually put their hands on, and it's really, really cool to see that happen.
I would say over half the people that I work with, not just in this county, but in my experience previous to here, all of them pretty much, at least half, tell me, I only did that to get the rest of the stuff that I wanted. But that
just
was
did
the
it
part,
for the money.
That was the part that I was required to do. But they really became believers after they did it. And, a lot of the testimonials, it's not just what you were saying about grazing efficiency, weed control, stocking rate, but also that their animals are calmer. And, and they can move them. And basically when you start the rotational grazing, at least in my experience, the livestock will move themselves. Like they're standing at the gate when it's time.
Yep.
And they're ready to go to that fresh field, and it makes their herd more manageable. So that's one of the testimonials that's been very common from folks.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's funny you mention that. One of the things we talk about with production is animal docility.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny how it's just like speaking from the perspective of being a father of 2. You're about to be a mama this fall. You can condition children to a certain degree, and animals are the exact same way. And as humans, we can be conditioned to think certain things, act certain ways. Cattle are the exact same way.
Yeah.
Now, you always have some bad apples in the bunch. Let's just go ahead and throw that out there. I'll be honest, good, bad, or ugly, or indifferent. But, you can. It's crazy what repetition can do over the long term.
Right.
And it's funny. It takes 21 days to build a habit. It takes not very long to break one. So it's those good building blocks, like you said, moving them, they get a lot calmer, they get used to it, and they adjust. There's an adjustment period for the animals too. It's kind of funny.
The same with the waters. I've had a lot of people have concern about, well, my cows won't know where the water is, and
they'll find it. They're smarter than you give them credit for.
Yeah,
they'll find it.
I promise they won't thirst.
Yeah.
And they also make a lot of those waters with a training pin where you can hold the ball back and they can actually approach the open water. But there's a lot of fears and misconceptions with a lot of the things that we can help with. And there's a question on down that we'll get into some more common practices. But I did want to mention while we're on what NRCS does for the local communities, also our partnership with the Jefferson County Soil and Water Conservation District, or the acronym SWCD. So we're trying to do a lot of community outreach, especially now that we're fully staffed, and it's been trying to get our name out there with different operations and stuff. So we're trying to do some school visits, career fairs, field days, stuff like that.
Awesome.
So anyone listening that has anything like that, please keep us in mind. There's a little pitch for us there.
Good.
But yeah, with the district, like I said, we Nick and Kaylee are the 2 employees along with the board members. We're all working towards the common goal of program delivery to the local producer. So
Right. Well, I know we partnered for a local field. Oh, was that last September?
it was last September. Yeah,
Jeez, man, that seems like forever ago already.
a lot of change since then.
Yes, a lot of change. Yes, a lot of change since then. But yeah, you can go ahead and put the plug in. We're working on another field day or 2 in the works, so y'all be on the lookout for that eventually. Just still trying to get some of the details ironed out because somebody's delivering a baby about mid-September. So
Perfect field day, Tom.
yeah, we're just trying to work all that out. I'm just giving you a hard time, but no, in all seriousness, we're gonna partner up and do a lot more stuff together because I think that's important. Because again, we serve the same clientele.
Yeah.
And both of our organizations or agencies kind of have we have different roles, but our goal is the same. Ultimately,
Right.
It's to help the people in Jefferson County. So you don't find that very often.
It's still amazing to me, the producers that I work with that maybe haven't even worked with Extension yet.
Or vice versa.
Right. And I think, how did you get started with me and you don't even know who Ryan is? How does that happen?
How do you not know? I'm just kidding. How do you not know me? Totally joking.
But it's, you would think that we would have a lot more.
The ag world and the ag community is a very small community. And you would think there's so much more crossover, but there's really not.
But I feel like Jefferson County is such a huge ag county. We have a lot of potential here.
Yes, absolutely. I have to agree with you on that. Yeah, so I'll just put in a personal pitch for you. I have seen, again, the benefits that producers can reap from projects you guys do, and it is maybe not groundbreaking in some circumstances because it all depends on where a producer's at in their production, how where their farm is at. But I know, like, one producer, I know we've gotten connected with y'all. He's got some big plans to do some stuff that will totally change his farm.
Yeah.
Completely. Like, I mean, I look at that, and I can't help him with it. I can give him some advice and things like that. But, part of the financial stuff y'all might be able to help with and things of that nature, it's going to totally change his farm.
If I walk out to a farm and meet with someone and we develop a plan, and the plan that I present to them makes their life more difficult, I've done them a disservice.
Yeah.
So, and I try to be honest with people. If it's hard, I know you're not going to do it. So I'm wasting my time and taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
So I know how these farmers are.
Yeah. Well, we talk about that with budgets all the time. Like, we stress in some of our extension classes. It's like, hey, you know what the best budget is? And people will kind of get on the edge of their seat like, oh, I want to know this. What's the best budget? Ty Williver, who's our farm management specialist, will just say, the best budget's the one you're going to use. I don't care what it is, if it's an Excel, if it's a, whatever it might be. If you use it, great. If you don't use it,
it'll never work.
It'll never work for you.
And that's how we feel. And like I said, we try to keep that in consideration. And I think that leads into sort of our next question that you had.
Good segue. There's a method to the madness here. We try to segue it in as good as we can, so go right ahead.
Well, do you want to ask it to me?
Which one are you on here?
Number 3.
What are some of the most common projects implemented here in Jeff County?
So I would like to lead that with our projects are very case and site specific.
Yes.
So it's really hard to sort of give a hypothetical. A lot of times people will call in the office and say, how do I qualify for this, this, and this? And like you mentioned earlier, I really got to get boots on the ground to evaluate that.
The answer is it depends because I don't know where you're at.
Right. And I actually mentioned that later. But so projects are very case and site specific. But like I said, it's your property, your land, your operation. I'm not here to tell you how to do it or how to change it. I'm just here to help you reach better goals. Yeah. Sometimes we both have to compromise to get a conservation plan because at the end of the day, we do have things that we have to meet, protocol on our side to even qualify. But I try to make it with you in mind as most as I can. So it's important that we do that site visit that I was mentioning to discuss things further, just because it is so case and site specific. But for the listeners, I will share some common practices that we do within the county. And if any of these buzzwords catch your ear, please call my office. So we can help with high tunnel systems, for our gardeners.
I had a question about that last week.
Yeah, we sure can help with that for extending the growing season. It's not like a permanent greenhouse structure,
Sure.
but more like the hoop house.
Yeah.
We can help with cover crops. One of our big ones in the county is watering systems for your livestock. And I know I've said cattle a lot. We don't focus solely on cattle. Any grazing animal that you have.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Disclaimer: we have a lot of cattle in Jefferson County, so our apologies if we're not picking on our small ruminant producers or anybody like that. It's just that you really can't go a quarter mile down the road without seeing a field of cattle somewhere. So.
So the watering systems and cross fencing for rotational grazing, exclusion fencing, we help with erosion control. I feel like it's sort of in our name with soil conservation and everything.
Yep.
But erosion control through, like if you have eroding stream banks or gullies on your properties, that's something that we have engineers on staff, not in our office.
Right.
It's a very tiny office.
But somebody that you can call on for some expertise.
Yes, we have engineers that are employed. We also have biologists, foresters. We have all kinds of specialists that we can involve. We can help with invasive species control. Now, I say that not so much in pasture fields,
Right.
but more so like in forest land settings. And that leads me into pollinator species plantings. So if you're into more wildlife habitat-based things, like I mentioned earlier, we have a biologist that we can have a very specific prescription written for your property. Tree planting, and then a more common one, we have winter feeding enhancements. That's not a one-size-fits-all either.
No, it's not. Not at all.
And it's sometimes complicated that's a lot of dollars that gets put on the ground, so sometimes complicated to get those written up.
Yeah.
But those are some of the more common things that I see within this county.
Yeah. I would probably, if I had to make a list, that's probably the exact list I would have come up with, just from my experience on talking with producers. Let me ask you a question about the erosion control projects. So I know that y'all have done like stream bank or stream crossings. Is that fall under that category?
Yeah, so it's sort of, and you'll find that a lot of our practices sometimes hit multiple resource concerns.
Sure.
So our stream crossings maybe are for erosion, but also for your rotational grazing if you need it to access from one field to the other.
The project I'm thinking of enables multiple, or rotational grazing.
But it can also be used as a water point in your rotational grazing.
Oh, I didn't think about it that way.
So
okay.
a lot of times what we're seeing on these farms as is, walk out to them raw, they've either got a pond on one corner, it's never in the middle, where it's conveniently located.
I understand.
Or a creek on one side. So that doesn't allow for proper water distribution for the rotational grazing that we would recommend.
A lot of times your creeks are the property borders most of the time. Yeah.
Right. So that's where we can help distribute that water, maybe a little more evenly. But yeah, the stream crossings are a really good access point for them to drink, to access across the creek.
Yeah.
And erosion control.
Spread out some of that overall just hoof traffic a little bit too.
Yeah. Well, and it puts a stable crossing site only on one place on the creek, so they're not, full disclosure into the creek.
There's I'd have to change the names of the innocent to protect the guilty, or however that saying goes. There's a story that I've from back home that I can't share on the podcast, but it's very, very important. I'll just say that much.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Good. Yeah, the erosion control, that's something that people don't really think about. Again, I think we get so pigeonholed into production, but that is such a problem and can become a problem. When you look at projects that have been done like that are done the right way, proper procedures followed, have it implemented the correct way, and like you said, you gotta have engineers try to draw that up, because you can't just do that yourself. I mean, you could, but it probably wouldn't work out very well if you're just doing a DIY project like that. and the fact that there's potential money there to help. When I tell people that, and they're like, "Oh my!" It's like a revelation moment for them. Like, yeah, go call Kinsley and them because they might be able to help you with that.
Yeah, well, and like you said, most people aren't focusing on maybe those as problems on their property, and that's why I say it's very important to let us get boots on the ground. Let us do a site visit, because you may call me out there and want to just focus on watering systems, and while I'm out there, there might be a gully, deeper than I am, and I could be like, that, if you ever want to fix that, I can help you with that.
Yeah, and you're sitting there like, okay, how could we get you want this, but I'm trying to think of, okay, we can add that, and that also in there,
right,
and probably get you what you need.
And that's what we do a lot of times. Once we survey the landscape when we're out there, a lot of times more conversation comes up and more practices that we can do.
Pick up a lot of things that they don't mention at first.
Right, and we'll send you, your conservation plan to approve. And a lot of times we'll send you the Cadillac version. Like we're trying to get all the environmental
high dollar, high dollar, high potency there.
Yes, all the environmental benefit and addressing all the resource concerns that we can. And of course, it's your job as the producer, operator, or leasee, or leaser.
Go through that. This ain't English class.
Whichever. For you to decide what works best for your operation. So you can pick and choose some things. And that's another point I want to make. You don't have to be the landowner. We can work on leased farms.
That is something that's always intrigued me because we have quite a few folks who lease land in this county. And, I will say, knock on wood, it'll probably change the drop of a hat, so I may not need to say this, but we have a lot of producers that I talk with who have really good relationships with their neighbors or with people they've known for a long time, and are very willing to, once they understand and get the information about what could potentially be done, and they're sold on it immediately. But people just don't know about it sometimes, and of course there's always
they're scared of it.
Or they're scared of it, and there is that aspect too. Even as a state employee, I get the, you're from UT, it's this, that, and the other. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to give you advice or recommend something that isn't going to help. Yeah, that's what I have started to tell people. Personally, if it were me, this is probably what I would do, but in a very professional manner.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, okay, well, that's awesome. And like I said, the erosion projects, those are ones that you may not think about in the long term, or and it may not be the glaring issue to a producer. But boy, when you get it done, it looks nice, and it looks really, really good, and there's a lot of stuff you don't have to worry about anymore once it's done. Yeah. So, I wish we could do some of that on our farm in Middle Tennessee. But sidebar, then we'll take a break here. But a small part of me died last week.
Oh no.
For the first time in a long time. Do not laugh over there at me. I see you laughing, Maddie. You're the intern. I can throw you under the bus. You want to come on here real fast? That's what I thought. I always threaten her with coming on the podcast, and she's like, "No, I'm good. Thanks, appreciate it." Small part of me died last week, and it's kind of a bittersweet thing. You're a farm girl. You grew up with cattle and small ruminants and all that kind of stuff. Our family farm in Clay County, Middle Tennessee, which is where my extended family's from, for the first time in a long, long time, doesn't have any cattle on it. Oh. My uncle sold out. Again, Donnie's in his 70s, so it's it's on his own accord. And to be very frank, if you're going to sell cattle right now, it's a pretty good time because they're sky high. But it's very, very sad to see that day come.
That is very sad.
So, but it's bittersweet because it's like, man, since my great-grandparents have owned this place, there's always been cattle on it. We grew 3 or 4 acres of tobacco all the time and things like that. And now it's just
change.
Just pasture land. Yeah. So, with that, we'll take a break and we'll be right back, and we'll see you guys in just a second. Hey, y'all. If you haven't already, give us a like and subscribe to keep up with our latest content. Also, do us a favor and share the show with your family and friends. You can find more episodes of the podcast on YouTube or Spotify at the links in the description below. Thanks again for joining us. Now, let's get back to the episode. All right, folks, and we're back. Back again with Miss Kinsley Waggoner. She is our local district conservationist here at the NRCS office in Dandridge. And to start off our next segment, we have Miss Maddie Helvey, who's going to ask one of the questions she has been wondering for Miss Kinsley. Go ahead.
All right, so Miss Kinsley, I was going to ask you, so what's the process or the timeline to get involved with the NRCS projects, and maybe dive in a little bit deeper about if you do get accepted for one of these projects, what does like the contracting work look like? Is that something you all provide, or is that something that the farmer or owner of the land picks or chooses from?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So as I mentioned earlier, to answer the process, our programs are voluntary. So like I said, I'm not knocking down your door trying to make you participate in my programs. To participate, literally all you need to do is contact our office and express interest. That is sort of your golden key to getting started. We'll take your information and schedule an appointment to actually come out on the property with you. As far as time frames go, and Ryan mentioned this earlier, one of the big answers you'll always find is it varies or it depends. It's
the golden answer in government work, right?
That's another one of those if I had a nickel for every time. So it does depend. Those are, like I said, very common answers. We have programs that are both federal and state, so again, complicated. They run on a continuous sign-up, but there's a cutoff date for the federal program. So typically that's the middle of November. So middle of November 2025, everyone from middle of November 2024 to November 2025, we're looking at for 2026 funding.
So it's okay. So it's basically almost a full year and a half in advance.
Right. So if somebody called me today and wanted me to come out to their farm, I'd be out within the next couple of weeks. We'd get you a conservation plan together, finalize your application by November, get that turned in. Then it's going to go through an environmental ranking process. That's where the competitiveness comes through. Everybody gets a ranking score.
They give you the C's or thumbs up or thumbs down.
Right.
Yeah.
And they fund from the highest scoring applications until we run out of money.
Gotcha.
That money typically doesn't come through until the spring. So people that contacted me after November of 24, they're still looking at April of 26.
Gotcha.
Same as if somebody contacted me 1st of November this year. They're going to be sort of on the same time frame.
Okay.
Like I said, it's a continuous sign-up. It's not like I know with Ag Enhancement.
Yeah, it's an annual thing. Yeah.
Right. You can sign up anytime. Now, the federal program is the only one that sort of has that cutoff date.
Okay.
And they've not announced it for this year. It could be different, but typically from years past, it's the middle of November. Now, the state program, which I mentioned earlier, that's handled by our board of directors. I still do site visits, and Nick does as well, but they make the selection on the projects that are funded.
Gotcha.
It's a continuous sign-up just based off of when we have funding allocations available.
Gotcha.
So, and to complicate things more, the state runs on a different fiscal year than the federal side.
Of course they do.
Yeah. So, that makes it a little more difficult. But anyone that contacts us, just know, ultimately, you don't need to be the expert about these program details or deadlines. Just know it starts with contacting our office, and then just let us be the guide to help you decide what works best for your operation, what funding's available at the time. If it's one that is probably really good on the state side, typically that's a quicker turnaround. We can go ahead and do that.
Right.
But
nothing's a guarantee. It's just
no.
But it all starts with, hey, I'm
interested.
Can we meet and talk out?
Yeah,
talk about this.
That's the biggest thing from this question I would like for the listeners to take away is don't worry about state and federal funding or funding at all.
That's your job to figure out.
That's
right?
my job, and everyone else's job in the office. We will take care of you the best that we can, and also help you make the decision on which option works best for your operation.
Yeah.
And then for the contractors side, so if selected for funding, which I want to throw in again, no guarantee, highly competitive, somebody has to implement the work, right? So there's a couple different options. You can do the work yourself if you feel qualified to do so.
Right.
There are standards and specifications for every practice that we recommend.
Right.
And our office is the quality control for that.
Okay.
So we're on site with the implementation of that, making sure that our materials are appropriate, that trench depths and all the practices, your fence post spacing, for example, all of that is kosher with what we have planned. Can you say kosher?
Sure. I think we can.
I don't know if you
I can
say
edit it out if we can.
Okay,
We're good.
let's take that part out maybe. I don't know if you can say that. Okay, so like I was saying, we're the quality control. So we're out there making sure fence posts are spaced appropriately, trenches are the appropriate depth, materials are what they need to be. So like I said, we're quality control. That goes back to you can do the work yourself if you are comfortable with meeting those specifications and standards, or you can hire a contractor.
Yeah. Very similar to how ag enhancement works. If y'all are familiar with how TAEP works, you can build it yourself, but it's got to be to spec.
Right,
so.
right. And the district actually maintains a list of contractors. Now, it's not a requirement to choose someone off that list. It's just a service that they provide, a list of contacts that you can choose from to sort of help you get some estimates in, or maybe get some contact with people that you may not be aware of in the county.
Sure, that's good.
And you don't have to pick someone on that list if you know someone outside of that list. Like I said, just a service, not a requirement.
Right.
I'm not here to tell you who to pick. I'm just here to tell you how to do it.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. Is there sometimes that list can be very, very helpful, because there's only like a certain amount of people who do X, Y, and Z service, right? And sometimes that work is so specific that you may have one or two folks that do that, or you may have 7, 8, or 9 to do that. So it just, I would encourage people to, obviously, being a homeowner, get multiple quotes. It doesn't hurt to get more than one opinion about stuff.
I try to tell people to get at least 3 so you can sort of compare and contrast.
Yeah.
And I typically caution you, if a contractor says they can start next week, that's probably not a good sign.
Ooh, yeah. Well, this little disclaimer there, heads up.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
They should be a little more busy than that.
And sometimes the cheapest option is not always the best option,
Right.
unfortunately. So, but yeah. That's good. That's good info. A lot of people ask me those questions. So, I'm learning so much just listening to you talk about this kind of stuff, because I don't work in y'all's office, but, again, we cross over so much
Right.
that I get those questions. They're like, well, what about this? What about that? And I'm like, look, y'all are better off calling Kinsley and talking to one of them, because
I might lead you astray.
yeah,
That's
you
how
might
I
as well
feel.
talk to the brick wall, man, because you got a better chance of getting the right answer out of the dog down the road. I don't know. That's just part of it. So we've kind of hit a couple of these next little bullets that Miss Maddie added for us here. Talking about some of the other projects you guys do. This is my podcast. I'm going to be selfish. Sorry for those out there. My first episode was about. It was with Josh Doherty from Morgan County, and it was how to implement wildlife habitat projects on a property, but also give some production ag benefit. And we talked a lot about native grasses, and if you have a small wood lot, if it's harvested or if it's just kind of scrub species, not non-desirables, being able to burn that and provide a lot of undergrowth for your small ruminants, particularly goats and sheep. So there's a lot of stuff that can be had that people just don't think of. And I'm a big outdoorsman. I love to hunt, love to fish. So I'm gonna ask this question from a personal but also professional standpoint, considering my uncle just got out of the cattle business.
Right.
And there's nobody directly in line that lives in Clay County, Tennessee, to take over that business with cattle. So can you elaborate on some of the projects that you guys offer, or maybe that you have seen done in the past, geared specifically towards wildlife management? And I see a lot of this, a lot of your YouTube personalities and folks like that. They will talk about how they implement this, that, and the other. And it's like, oh, well, just contact your NRCS officer, contact your soil conservation folks. I'm like, well, that's it's like a Rolodex of information you don't know where to start in. So can
Yeah.
you kind of dive into some of those specifically? Because it's not just for production ag, it's also
Right.
for some wildlife habitat stuff.
Yeah, so the history on that, actually, NRCS used to be the SCS, which was the Soil Conservation Service.
Okay.
Our name changed to the Natural Resources Conservation Service to be more specific on what we helped with. So not just
Okay.
soil conservation, but also natural resources, that
Gotcha.
being our wild woodlands as well.
Uh-huh.
So there's a lot we can do with wildlife management. I am no biologist, disclaimer.
That's why you have people on staff.
That's why we have them on staff. Yes, but I do know, and just like with us on the ag side, it can't just be I want a farm.
Mhm.
It's got to be more specific than
Right.
that. And the more specific you can be with us, the more specific we can be on a product that we produce for you. So
Sure.
a lot of times, if you're interested in having more deer and turkey on your farm, if you're interested in seeing quail, if your interest
man.
is monarch butterflies or
You
rabbits,
name it, yeah.
you just have to help us be not just I want to see more wildlife on my farm. Well,
Yeah. You're throwing,
what kind?
yeah, you're throwing noodles at the wall, hoping it sticks there,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah. So, and quail is something that we have been doing a lot more work with
Okay.
in the past. The thing with quail is, if they're not there, that's sort of
Yeah, they aren't just around every corner, every
Right.
brush pile now.
right. But we do have biologists that focus solely on quail, or biologists that focus on deer and turkey. Again, I would be your golden key to help you get in contact with those people, but they can help with waterfowl as well if you're wanting.
Like WRP program and stuff like
Right,
that. Yep. Used to be a waterfowler myself. I haven't hunted them in a long time, but that's a lot of my buddies in West Tennessee. They'll have strips of a field that get flooded all the time,
Yeah.
and you can't get crops in it. They just put that thing in a wetland reserve program, and you get some dollars back for it, and you don't have to worry about putting it back into crops. You just have to manage it according to your contract. So.
Yeah, and they also duck hunt, I'm sure.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so. Very interested in it.
So yeah, and those practices for the wildlife management have the same opportunity for funding as our ag sector practices. So,
Gotcha. Are those you mentioned like the what'd you call it? Like the tier system.
Did I say something about a tier?
No, not a tier system. It's me thinking out loud here.
The ranking
system.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So are those ranked against each other,
Okay.
or are they in
so
different buckets?
How deep do we want to go?
We got time. Go for it.
So we have a certain allocation
Okay.
that we get from the Farm Bill on the federal side.
Okay.
And it does get split into different pots of money, so different initiatives. But
Gotcha,
there's
okay.
not only like just wildlife. There can be initiatives for the golden winged warbler. That was a specific one. That was more so like when I was in Washington County, more eastern. But
So we can get species specific
there
if
are
we
some
really,
species
really want to be
specific
technical.
fund pools. Yeah.
Wow. See, I didn't know that.
And for the aquatics, there's some hellbender specific funding. The salamander.
That's cool. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, but all of those different, we call them slices of the pie.
Yeah.
So it's
Different buckets that money gets poured into, and you just don't know where they're going to get poured out of.
right.
Yeah.
So not necessarily that a wildlife application will be competing against an ag application,
Gotcha.
but if we're putting them both in the same application, it's not that there's not room for both of them on the same farm.
Gotcha. So in that case, let's say you have like 4 projects total for a landowner, 2 that are focused on wildlife, 2 that are focused on more on like production ag type stuff. When you combine those 2 together in an application, does that help you in your ranking? Or again, can 2 of them get funded and 2 of them not get funded?
So it depends.
Okay. Classic. Classic.
But I will say, a lot of times it's better to put more in your application.
Well, that was
than
my next
not,
question, yeah.
Because you're getting more environmental benefit the more you're willing to do on the
Your
conservation side.
Compounding factors, yeah.
Right. But also we have to understand with each operation there's different short-term goals that they have, and
Yeah.
maybe they only want to focus on this part with this application.
Sure.
And we can absolutely split it up.
Yeah.
But if you try to come back and do the second half in a
Right.
couple of years, it's not guaranteed to get funded.
Gotcha. So you're
Yeah.
better off trying to get it all done in as many fatal swoops as you can
Right.
to help yourself. Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, the wildlife side of things, it's really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we can use foresters and biologists to help achieve that.
Okay.
For habitat is the big part of it, is just providing habitat for whichever specific wildlife you're. Oh, the wheels are turning.
Yeah,
over
wheels
here.
are turning. We've got 12 acres of hayfield on our on the farm that we manage for wildlife already, and since Uncle's out of the cattle business, we've, obviously it's like, okay, well, what can you do? What are you going to do with that now?
Yeah.
And that's a question that, God, I'm thinking about a conversation I'm going to have with Dr. Martinez later on this year about farmland loss and preservation and things like that. A lot of times the question becomes, okay, well, the last farmer in our family is done. Either they pass away or they are hanging it up, sell off the cattle, whatever it might be. Then you come to a crossroads and you were like, okay, well, what do we do now? We've always had cattle here, but now we've got 87 acres that ain't being eaten up by cows all the time.
Yeah.
And so therefore you have a big chunk of land to manage and make decisions for and all that kind of stuff. So now what do you do with it? Do you want to lease it? Do you want to, like I said, he's got a pack of beagle hounds that we love to run rabbits with. So it's like, okay, do we take
Some rabbit habitat?
Do we take a couple of those gullies that feed the big pond up top above my great grandmother's house? Do we, let those grow up in rabbit habitat? What do we do? So there's all kinds of conversations you have to have, and for us, that's a family conversation. But it's just I run into that in my job a lot of, okay, now what?
Yeah.
But like we have, that's the home farm, and then the farm that's less than 5-10 minutes away is where my great grandmother was born. That's been in our family for, I would be the 5th generation.
That's
so
amazing.
I mean, that's a long time. And
definitely something to preserve.
It's a special place to us. But again, it's 48 acres and 36 of it is woods. We've got some little, hidey hole food plots and stuff like that, a little old logging road trail system in there. But the other 12 is road frontage too, which adds value to the property, but also makes it real easy for somebody to come over and poach a deer out of one of the fields at night or something like that. So, which ironically almost happened to me. It was actually a pretty big buck too. I was sitting in one of our shooting houses, and I look up and I see a car stop in the middle of the road, and I thought, oh, there's something crossing the road. No, I look out on the edge of the field and I can see a big one standing there, and I thought, oh crud, this is not good. Well, ended up they saw me sitting there,
Yeah.
and they drove off. It was dark and too dark. I couldn't shoot him anyway, but I was just like, you know what? We got to do something here. But now, especially because, one of the worst things for any field is just to grow up and not have a purpose for it. Because then you got to reclaim it if you want to put it back into crops, pasture, whatever.
Oh, I just went through that. So the property we purchased had been sitting idle.
I remember you asked me about that. Yeah.
Sitting idle for several years, like probably 5 or 6, and fence rows, disrepair.
Eaten up.
Yeah. So shame on anybody that lets a fence row grow up. Unless you're doing it for wildlife, then I support it.
I was going to say, us rabbit hunters like that.
Yeah.
They're good.
But no, I appreciate you bringing up the wildlife question, because I feel like that's maybe an aspect of our agency that doesn't get discussed much, or maybe
It gets overlooked.
Yeah, that people don't even know that's available. So you don't necessarily have to be ag production farm landowner for us to work with you, just as long as you have open mind to conservation and a goal for wildlife. That's something we can help you with.
Yeah, that's awesome. Selfishly, I envision that field like right along, like half of it being in like early successional habitat, or something like that.
That's a big buzzword.
Partially to block the road, partially for nesting habitat for turkeys and all that kind of stuff, and cover for white-tailed deer, and then maybe like a strip of brassicas or whatever it may be for a food plot, and then on the other side have early succession too. So it just, I don't know, you kind of have all kinds of visions and things like that, but
so see, I'm more on the caterpillar side of wildlife. So and this is unrelated, well, not really.
Well, see, you got a lot of milkweed and stuff like that.
Right, so that's where I was going to go.
Exactly.
So one of the last projects I worked on in Jonesboro, Washington County, before I left, we did a specific planting for monarch habitat.
That's cool.
The monarch butterflies. And that was the first monarch caterpillar I had ever seen on that planting. I went back, you know, they had planted it early in the year, and we went back that summer. I got to see 2 monarch caterpillars on that planting. It was the most exciting moment. I physically screamed.
Fulfilling, I bet.
In front of the landowner. Thankfully, she was one of our board members already. So, like, and she was the one that was adamant about wanting to support the monarch habitat. But yeah, that was one of the really cool moments in my career. And, you know, I'd say it was a successful planting to see 2 monarch caterpillars out there.
And just to be very frank, I mean, and it's kind of funny where a lot of this stuff can cross over from, you know, production ag to wildlife management to just overall, you know, land management, stuff like that. You know, milkweed is one of those. Whenever you have a diverse habitat, it's going to increase wildlife productivity to a certain degree in certain aspects. And as you go through successional stages, obviously it becomes a little different. But that's a talk for Dr. Craig Harper at UT to give with me one day. But, you know, again, I think that's overlooked so much. And I know all this stuff. I don't know all of it, but I knew about it and knew of it because of my personal interest.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people out there who do not know that y'all offer that kind of stuff.
Right.
And it's, you know, again, if there's going to be money there, you hope somebody uses it and uses it for the good of the land and the wildlife. So, again, it's not just for production ag or things like that. So, last question, and then we'll do a wrap up. Okay.
Okay.
So this is one that I think I already know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Any other services you guys provide, like GIS or soil survey data, can you kind of elaborate on that? And I ask that from the standpoint of, I get a lot of people moving into our area.
Yeah.
In the last 5 years, we have boomed, not just in Jeff County, but in Tennessee as a whole.
Yes.
We have boomed with people that move here from every corner of the United States, it seems like. And they're always asking me, you know, hey, well, what grows well here? What kind of soil do I have here? You know, I'm not used to this clay stuff. Like, well, yeah, it depends on what part of the county you're in.
Or
you know,
what kind of clay you have.
That's exactly right. You know, if you're down in Maddie's neck of the woods, down in Rocky Valley somewhere, you know, it's going to be a lot of rock. It's going to be a little different color clay versus if you're over in Chestnut Hill or up towards Jeff City. So can you kind of walk through that and just, you know, I know the web soil survey is probably something you're going to say, and I was going to say it if you didn't. So
yeah, so it ties back to where I said we offer both technical advice, financial assistance. That would be the technical advice side of things.
Gotcha.
So web soil survey is a big one. We actually have brochures in our office that we can just hand you.
Can I borrow some of those,
yes,
please? Thank you.
You can take it home and do it yourself. And a lot
Awesome.
of times, you know, I speak at different classes and things, and I can show you how to use web soil survey, but I want your homework to be to go home and play with it on your own farm.
Yep.
Because it's not just telling you what soil types are available. It can get as specific as telling you if that's a good place to put a basement.
Yep.
Like you mentioned the people moving here.
Yeah, it has uses on that website
yes,
too. It's awesome.
And it talks about forages, if that's, you know, good places for septic tanks. It doesn't substitute, obviously, a
Right.
perk test.
Right.
But there's a lot of different layers and functionalities within that web soil survey.
I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, you got to play with it. It's under like the characteristics and qualities.
Okay.
So it is sort of complicated to understand at first if you're not familiar with the system. But it's one of our public accessible websites. And honestly, it's so, this might be a biased opinion, I prefer it. It's a better website than most of our internal websites that I have to use. So it's...
Well, and I would probably echo that as well. The first time I ever used web soil survey was in Intro to Soils 210 at UT.
Flashback.
Yeah, it is. That was a flashback. And I said, what in the world is a web soil survey? And our lecturer was walking us through it. And I was like, holy crap, there's bukus and bukus of information on here that's just free to whoever.
Yeah.
You can go on there and look at whatever you want to and find out just about everything you want to know. Like you said, it doesn't sub for like a perk test or anything like that, but still, there's a lot of information out there. And I'm helping people like that want to, people will move in and say, hey, you know, we're thinking about starting a garden or starting
Where
a bit
should I put it? What should I do here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And those are the more specifics, you know, that we could help with in an office visit. But there's so much more of a deep dive that if you are, you know, motivated on a more personal level to learn more about your property, that's a good way to do it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we can pull that up in the office, talk about it. Like I said, the more deep dive, it's more so your homework.
Yeah.
We also have access to different GIS layers. So of course the aerial photography, and if you just want, you know, I've had people request pictures of their maps of their properties just so they can do some farm planning on their own.
Yeah.
I can print those for you, or not just, I have a whole team. I cannot do this by myself. Anybody in the office can assist you with that. We've got a great team. But we have aerial layers, topographic maps, you know, for elevation changes, LiDAR maps that are sort of new, still learning. A lot of the community maybe hasn't seen LiDAR maps, but it's a layer that, like, if you were to lay a sheet on the property, like just a regular sheet, it shows the contours and different things. Yeah, you can see the divots and the rises. Yeah, it's really nice.
Huh. Is that color or black and white?
Black and white.
Okay.
It's black and white.
Interesting. I need that layer for our farm in Middle Tennessee because...
You'll have to contact the office in Middle Tennessee.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I don't even know if Clay County has an office. It's probably in...
With another county.
It's probably in another county, maybe Macon or something like that. But we've got a lot of, like, little, just very subtle rises and dips and things like that.
It can show you the gullies, the ponds.
The topo does not pick it up.
Yeah.
I mean, it does not. I mean, there's one little spot on kind of towards the back of the property, what we call the knoll. There's a significant elevation change there, but there's definitely elevation changes that you just cannot see.
Well, so Jefferson County, I didn't know this prior to working in this county. Very common to see sinkholes in Jefferson County.
If I got a nickel for every time I got a question about a sinkhole and recommended them,
So there's portions of the county, you turn that map layer on and it looks like divots on a golf ball. Like, I mean, there's a lot of sinkholes here. Yeah.
That's kind of scary. It's good.
But you can see things like that.
See, it's good to know that kind of stuff. I'm gonna build a house.
You don't want to build it there.
You know, don't want to build it on a sinkhole for sure. Okay. Good deal.
We can help with stuff like that for sure.
Well, that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's really cool. So I think that about does it for us. We've been going on, how long do you think we've been talking for?
It doesn't feel like that long, honestly.
See, told you, you kind of just go and you start and it goes right along. We've been a little over an hour. So
nice.
You combine with the last segment there. But Kinsley, thank you. We greatly appreciate you. Most important, if somebody that's listening wants to contact you and get in touch with you, see if they can set up a visit or something like that, how do they do that? What's y'all's number, email, things like that? How do they need to get in touch with y'all?
Hang on.
We'll be right back. All right, Kinsley, so I believe that wraps us up. Last question. If somebody's listening and wants to get in touch with you guys, they're interested in possibly having y'all out or coming into the office and visiting with you guys, I recommend calling them just to make sure you know somebody's going to be there at the office and possibly set up an appointment in the field. So how do they get in touch with y'all?
Absolutely. So the best way, like you said, phone call. You can call us at 865-397-3151, and we're extension 3. I'll give that again, 865-397-3151, extension 3. We're physically located at 319 Highway 92 South, sort of adjacent to the co-op. Most people are familiar with where the co-op is. We're right beside the Dollar General.
Yep.
So you can come by there. Most of the time, at least one person is there, but the field staff oftentimes is out on farm visits, so you may not catch one of us field staff employees there.
Sure.
I do know some people also prefer email. You can email me. That may not be the best form of communication, but you can email me at Kinsley, Kinsley, Waggoner, Waggoner, at USDA.gov.
Okay.
So, there you go.
Awesome. Well, hey, we thank you again. It's been been a pleasure to have you, and hope everything goes well the rest of the pregnancy.
Thank
I'm sure
you.
it will. So,
I would be doing a disservice if I did not mention this closing comment. So Nick, that I mentioned earlier in my office, asked that I make the closing comment that Nick really is the glue that holds us together. And for the record, I know y'all can't see me. I said that willingly.
yeah, well, just from Nick's days at the co-op and the hard times I give him, I'll be sure to give him a hard time about that. Yeah, I doubt he's the glue that holds all y'all together. We'll let him think that.
Yeah.
Let's just say
Yeah.
that much. Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to let people think things.
That's right. He and his flip phone he's got now. He's gone back to the dark ages. I'm proud of him though. I wish I could have a flip phone if I'm being honest. So.
But no, we have a really great team, and you are putting your farm and trust in really good hands if you're willing to work with us. So
Yep.
definitely, I know I'm biased, but we've got a really great team.
No, I'll echo that as well. I would put my farm in y'all's hands to help out, and so for what it's worth, your extension agent would put it in their hands to help out. So I don't know if that carries a lot of weight or not with some people, but again, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. If y'all need to get in touch with Kinsley or her staff there at the NRCS office, please don't hesitate to reach out and just ask a question, have a conversation with them, see if they can help you out. But they're a good group of folks to work with. And again, we thank you. And for those of y'all listening out there, we appreciate you. We hope you guys subscribe, give us a like, hit subscribe, and share the podcast with your family and friends. I cannot talk. It is a Monday. I cannot talk. But make sure you share the pod with your family and friends, and give us a like and subscribe wherever you listen. Thank you guys so much. We greatly appreciate it, and have a great rest of the day.